good morning. I'm Leslie Mills, parent of a 4th grader and a kindergartner in Johnston County. Growing up, I loved school. I loved learning. I loved my teachers. I loved everything about school, and it all started in kindergarten. I can remember the play centers in my classroom, the way we learned the letters of the alphabet by associating them with a cartoon character starting with the same letter. I remember my teacher and her assistant. I remember nap time, and I remember being read to a lot. In stark contrast, I have a son who says he hates school. He cries and begs me daily not to take him there. When your 5-year-old looks at you with tears streaming down his face and says to you, "Mommy, I promise I will work hard for you at home if you teach me," there's the problem. He likes his teachers. He has friends. And he actually does really well in class. But he's being asked to read at what was previously a 2nd grade expectation. He's being asked to complete worksheets and writing exercises daily. While 2 of the centers I remember from kindergarten were building blocks and a pretend kitchen, 2 of his are math and writing. I volunteer in his class weekly, and I witness reading assessments for children every time I'm there. As a parent, I'm extremely concerned for my son and his classmates. Research shows that kids who read at 7 versus those who read at 5 are actually better at reading comprehension by the age of 11. Why? Because their language development was strengthened through early play experiences rather than academic content. So why is current education policy focused on rigid, inappropriate content and constant assessment, especially when they have been proven ineffective for young children? Kindergarten is a place for kids to develop a love of learning. Instead, we are expecting them to do things they aren't mentally ready for. Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid. Now, this quote is incorrectly attributed to Einstein, but whoever said it, it still rings true. Our kids are individuals. The best way to help them succeed and thrive is by finding their own God-given gifts and honing those, not by forcing them into a one-size-fits-all education. Thank you.
Honorable members of the legislature, I am Ron Price. Although I am a school board member, I'm here to speak individually and not on behalf of the school board. January 2010, we voted to compete in the federal program Race to the Top. The information we received on Race to the Top and Common Core was very limited, full of hope and promises, but with very little substance. During the next 3 years, I attended seminars and conferences to learn more about these programs, all to no avail. In January 2013, I met with the superintendent to express my concerns about the rumors on Common Core and Race to the Top. The only information I received was a standard propaganda from DPI, so I sought more information from outside sources, which was very alarming. I found these programs violate the U.S. and North Carolina constitutions, voluntarily giving the federal government control of the state's education system. Washington, through bribes and third parties, took control of the implementation of de facto national standards. Once implemented, these programs are set in concrete, eliminating control by elected officials from the state legislature down to the local school boards. These programs shackle teachers and administrators with strict regulations and procedures that severely limit their ability to effectively teach students and administer the schools. After 2 years of the development and implementation, our test scores have fallen by a half, indicating the poor quality of Common Core. Through tens of billions of dollars in federal funding of computer networks and centralized databases, a huge nationwide infrastructure has been established to collect hundreds of points of information on teachers, parents, and students. The collection of this data violates their rights under the 4th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and federal statutes. North Carolina needs to end participation in Common Core and Race to the Top and regain state control of education, only which the legislature can do. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to briefly share my classroom experience on the Common Core. My name is Powell, and I am in my 26th year of teaching. I've been nationally board certified since 2004, and I teach social studies at Mooresville High School in Mooresville, North Carolina. I'm also a teacher leader who works closely with the Center for Teaching Quality. You know, the classroom experience has changed a great deal for me and my students since my first position at West Lincoln High School in 1988. Not all of these changes have been for the better, but some of these changes have been terrific. like the introduction of Common Core state standards into my daily practice. Now, I'm not here to talk about standardized testing, which I question the value of, or the politicizing of the Common Core, which is greatly disturbing. What I am here to talk about is the re-energizing, let me re-emphasize that word, re-energizing effect Common Core has had on me and the classroom experience with my students. You know, I wish I had more time to tell you about Rivera, a struggling high school junior who led a seminar last spring using diaries, memorandums, and diplomatic letters examining the relationships between Nikita Khrushchev, Fidel Castro, and John Kennedy during the Cuban Missile Crisis. You know, I wish I had more time to tell you of Rami, an academically gifted student who began my class this semester coasting, relying on years of test-taking expertise to pass classes. He's now challenged daily with Common Core critical reading, speaking, and writing experiences in my class. You know, I wish I had more time to tell you about my experiences with the Center for Teaching Quality and the virtual collaboration with teachers across the nation about the Common Core that takes place there. The Common Core standards really describe the things a modern student should be able to do, and let me use my professional wisdom and judgment to make these things happen. I have more confidence than ever in helping my students get ready for the 21st century careers ahead of them. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hugh Rillie, and I'm a parent of 2 students in elementary school here in Lake County. Today is the first day of spring, and with spring comes a rebirth in nature. Wouldn't it be fitting if today was the day that this committee brought new life to the classrooms in North Carolina? The Common Core has sapped the joy of learning and teaching from our schools with its constant barrage of assessments, developmentally inappropriate content, convoluted methods of instruction, and lack of rigor. Over the past several decades, we have moved from a locally controlled education system that was guided by parent and teacher input to state-led standards to our current rigid national scheme. We've declined from the best education system in the world to a system that barely competes with third world countries. Our teachers have endured one round after another of trendy new ways to teach. In the past, the experienced teachers would simply close the door of their classrooms and proceed with the methods of instruction that were of benefit and discard the methods that were detrimental. Unfortunately, with the Common Core, the control of the material taught in the classrooms has been removed from our teachers and placed in the hands of unelected committees inside private organizations. These one-size-fits-all standards won't prepare the children of our state adequately for STEM careers. In fact, the target path of the Common Core is to prepare for a 2-year community college rather than prepare for a 4-year university. The children of North Carolina are not common. They're exceptional, each in their own way. Each child has their own unique strengths and weaknesses, and they learn in different ways and in different rates. Our teachers can assess the appropriate method of instruction. Only our teachers can assess the appropriate method of instruction for their students. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kristy Tart-Bryan. I'm a product of 13 years of North Carolina Public School, a Duke University graduate, a business owner, a wife, and most importantly, I am a mother. I have a 6-year-old in the 1st grade in Wake County. I'm here today for him, his classmates, and his teachers to beg, yes, beg you to do anything in your power to remove Common Core from our schools. We parents are on the front lines of this war, and our children are its victims. I know you've all heard the shiny talking points espoused by Common Core supporters, that these are rigorous standards to get our kids college ready. Truly noble ideals. Unfortunately, I've yet to see anything noble in the application of these standards locally. I've watched my little boy's joy for learning and confidence in his abilities be slowly stripped from him. The Common Core line math he's brought home is completely confusing and developmentally inappropriate. Rigor is far from it. His class hasn't studied any new math skills this year, but they have been instilled with a compulsion to look at basic math problems in the most convoluted way possible. A 6-year-old shouldn't be asked to fill an entire page to explain in words why 8 plus 6 equals 14. You try it. I want my children to have all opportunities for higher education I was afforded by this great state. Common Core will not provide that. Why would we attempt to fundamentally change our education system using unproven, commercially driven standards without properly vetting those standards for ourselves? Did we pass the bill so we could find out what's in it? How can we ask our children to be the guinea pigs for such a radical experiment? I submit that we cannot, not with a clear conscience anyway. When making your decision, think of the children. Listen for their voices. You won't hear them from the Chamber of Commerce. You won't hear them at the DPI, nor in superintendent's offices. You will hear them from teachers' mouths and mothers' lips. Please listen. Thank you.
My name is Nancy Murdoch. I'm from Franklin County. I'm education chairman of Coastal Carolina Taxpayers Association. I know more about Common Core than I ever wanted to know. My main objections to Common Core are straightforward. The standards are not clear, concise, or measurable. Not only should educators be able to understand the standards, but so should the average parent or citizen. The standards for the lower grades are not age appropriate. No early childhood experts were involved in the development of these standards. Students in the early grades fall in the pre-operational stages of Piaget stages of cognitive development and are unable to think logically. However, the word compare is used numerously in the math standards, and comparisons are impossible without logic, and that's in kindergarten and first grade. The ELX standards present a complete different set of problems. In the pre-operational stage, the child is completely egocentric. Several of the ELA standards for K through 2 reach outside this reference. For example, identify words and phrases in stories or poems that suggest feelings or appeal to the senses. Compare and contrast 2 or more versions of the same story. All of these require abilities outside the cognitive reasoning power of a child of this age. One of the most outstanding standards fall under the writing standards for grade 1. Write opinion pieces in which they introduce the topic or name the book they are writing about, state an opinion, supply a reason for the opinion, and provide some sense of closure. I know many adults who couldn't do that. Common Core is not in the best interest of North Carolina children or of teachers. I question the appearance of conflict of interest and collusion between government and private companies to the detriment of the taxpayers. The stench of corruption surrounds the arena of Common Core, and I urge the study committee to reject it. Thank you.